Hey, Central Coast, this is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Golf Talk Radio with Mike and Billy here on ESPN Radio 1280.
Welcome back in, everybody.
You say goodbye.
Golf Talk Radio with Mike and Billy right here on the Golf Talk Radio Network. And going to thank more partners of ours. We want to get you guys in. We're gradually, this is what usually happens with this fantasy golf stuff, but we just changed over. It's like everything's changing. We just changed over. Yahoo Sports shut down their fantasy golf after I don't know how many years. It was crazy that they did that. But we went to PGA Fantasy Golf. I think it's PGAtour.com. You go to golftalkradio.com. We want to get you guys signed up. We've got McGalley Health Group has sponsored the fantasy golf for the whole year, Billy. So they're giving us golf balls to give away the entire year, which we're, 1 month in, I guess. So there's another 45 sleeves of golf balls just for weekly winners, and we'll have
Can I win a laser treatment?
Yeah, possibly.
Because I would like to talk to them about that.
So go to golftalkradio.com and join us. It's free to play. And McGalley Health Group, McGalley Health Group at 805-461-8822 is sponsoring the whole year.
I would like to mention, I don't do this enough, but the Black Lake Golf Resort in Napomo, I've been affiliated with that for many, many years. I'm thinking it's going on 15 or 18 years. They're part of me, and they've been part of this show, and I don't say it enough. But I do want to mention that last week with the mudslide tragedies down in Santa Barbara and Montecito, that Avila and Black Lake on Thursday the 18th, I believe was the date, that all of the proceeds that they made, every dollar that came into that register went down to those mudslide victims. So
That's
Bill
pretty
Burney,
awesome.
who's the GM at Black Lake, the hardest working person I've ever met. If you know Bill, I mean, this guy, he's a working machine and a gentleman at the same time with a big heart. So I thank Black Lake for being a sponsor. I thank them for for letting me wear my hat at that. It's like home. So Black Lake, I appreciate prizes, which we could give out during the segment. I've got it. Believe it or not, I played before the Poppy round.
Okay.
Poppy knocked me back a month or so, but it was in good shape, and it was fun to be out there, and it's just a nice place to go. Very price friendly and good people. So thank you, Bill Burney and Black Lake Resort, and thanks for Avila too. What you guys did for the mudslide, pretty cool stuff.
That's cool. Very cool. So we were talking a little bit about caddies, and then was there, you did some extensive research on caddies. I could tell you from just my experience from caddying for Nikki over the last 3 years, you got to be organized, and you got to know your player. There's no doubt about that. If you're going to be a successful caddy, you got to know your player, and then and obviously, I think everybody's probably seen it. The caddy that got fired on the golf course yesterday.
A soundbite. What was it? Yesterday he got fired, or was it last week? I don't know, but there's many. I got a whole list of why caddies get fired, and it's what happened. Did he toss his? What happened?
So long story short, guess they're coming in. His player is Gibson. His player's Gibson. Okay, so they're playing, and this guy Davis is actually Rhein Gibson is the player. His caddy is Brandon Davis. So they're coming up on the last hole, and if I've got it right, it's on the 18th hole. They decide to go for it. It's par 5. He's sitting in second place right now as they're going up.
Wow.
Okay, so they decide to go for it, and the second shot he kind of hooks it a bit, and the ball ends up in the water hazard. And the water hazard has some water, it's got some rocks, got some different things like that. So he goes over, there's a tour official, the caddy, Brandon Davis does, and he's watching his player, Rhein, and Rhein's obviously visibly upset, right? He's kind of turning away like he's not even going to attempt.
Because he's in the hazard?
Yeah, because he's not even going to attempt, to play the shot, which the rules officials seem to think that was what had to happen.
Had to happen or an option?
Rhein had to tell Brandon Davis, I'm not playing, before Brandon Davis could go over there and pick up the ball.
He has to identify what his intentions are.
Yeah. So the ball, though, was wedged between two rocks. There's no way that
you're in a hard place?
Yeah. There's no way you're going to get the ball out of there. Right? I made an error. I blew it. I was hotel. he finds through a friend the ruling in the USGA decisions book that doesn't say that there has to be consent from the player verbally.
Okay.
And so now he's posted this video. I'm okay with what happened. He goes, I feel a lot better knowing that I didn't make a mistake.
So he knew he was fired at that time?
Yeah, he was
so
fired.
So he got fired because of that?
Yes. And so the ruling was that they were going to give him a stroke penalty, which actually knocked his player Rhein tied for third, cost him $16,000. So the ruling is under 26-1/9. It says caddy lifts ball in water hazard without player's authority. It says, question, a player's ball is lying in a water hazard, is lifted by a player's caddy without the player's authority. What is the ruling? A, there is no penalty under Rule 18-2 if there was no doubt or if reasonable to assume from the player's actions or statements that he would not make his next stroke from outside the water hazard. In the absence of such circumstances, the player had incurred a one-stroke penalty under Rule 18-2.
Because it was a gray area whether he was planning on playing it or not? I mean,
Rhein didn't even go over, didn't pick up a club, didn't go over like he was going to play it. He's just kind of, he's disgusted.
It doesn't seem like he should be fired.
And, so apparently the head cover of the putter, Ryan's putter head cover got thrown by him at his caddy. So there's a video or a picture of that as well. So when you talked about that person that you caddied for, it was very similar to that. And, they call it when the ball's in the water like that.
Now that it's been clear that he did anything wrong, has a player reached out and said, hey, let's bygones be bygones and continue, or is that just a bad situation?
I think it's just done.
Well, that's too bad.
It's an interesting video. It goes on for
I always thought
your
caddy and player are one. I mean, they make a decision. The caddy, if you hit your caddy, it's like you're hitting yourself with a golf ball. I mean, if your caddy moves something, you're penalized. So you're kind of a one team. They can help you make decisions. You're just even one swings the club, but both are in the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be. If he picked it up, that was the decision. But so they really did penalize him, or they changed that penalty because that could.
From what I saw on there, and I didn't do the research past that point, but what I saw on there was that there was actually a penalty, but he said it cost him $16,000. So that tells me that the penalty stroke's still there.
Well, Lexi, they penalized her 4 shots the next day or something she did the day before. So you think they could take one back? But then, and adjust the checks. They don't cut the checks that day. So you would think. But, it's a crazy situation, man. So one of the biggest things about being a caddy and the challenges is that staying positive and keeping your player even keel, like we mentioned.
Right.
So, they have to have a huge surplus of mental strength. They need to be performance, which if you have an ego, you do want to be. It's so much more than carrying the bag and knowing the golf course really well, and like Dave's mentioned it, even though the yardage books are very accurate now, and the pin placement sheets are really accurate now to the inch. I think they are. They still need to know what the wind conditions are planning on being. They have to know the books, and then they have to go out and where to miss. Where's your good miss? Where's the bad miss?
Right. And
they'd have to know the player's game. So there's a lot more. So getting to, if you just pick up a caddy like the first day, they don't know your game. So
right.
The more you get to know the player, what's his go-to shot. Then there's a good discussion. So that takes a special relationship. But once you get that relationship, like Fluff's been with Furyk forever now.
Right.
Right. I mean, these guys are buddies. And Bones was with Phil for 20-something years. I'm sure Bones has a nice home.
I don't doubt that at all.
But if you're good at it and you have good relationship skills and you can keep your player, into it, and it's Jordan always says it's a team. He always considers. Do you ever notice that, Jordan?
Yeah.
He always says
that's the way a successful partnership works.
Yeah, it's always a.
But it takes time. I think that's one of the things. Like when you go and play. I've heard Nikki talk about it. I've experienced it. I don't know about you, but when you've gone and played with caddies at a course, not talking about a tournament, but you go play somewhere and they're like, okay, you're playing this course that has caddies. You got to take a caddy. I always find it very, very difficult on certain aspects of the game to have the caddy helping me out. Like you got to putt it here, hit it here, that kind of stuff. For me, it's the flow of how I feel when I play. That's tough. Saying like, okay, this is a line you got to take. This is that. This is the other. It gets me thinking so much
exactly
that I can't handle it, and so it's got to take time to develop the relationship, to make it work.
And to that point, reading greens, if you don't know the player's pace of speed, if he's a lagger or if he's he rocks at it. If he's a fast putter or a lagger.
Right.
The greens break different.
Yeah, depending on how hard. Exactly.
So you could, you play in a scramble and it's a ball and a half out. Well, that could be for him. Could be
exactly.
4 balls for me. So if you don't know your players' intentions of how they're going to hit the putt, are they going to die it in, or are they jamming it in? There's a whole different grade of reading greens.
Yeah.
So reading
Big
greens,
time.
very few that I understand. There are a couple that really help. That help the players read the greens because you don't want to have confusion. Sometimes if they can't read a break, please help me here. I don't see it. Where is it? That could be helpful. Look at the green sheets and the slopes and all that. But otherwise, man, I don't want someone to tell me.
Well, I know when I've
or
caddied,
yardage. I don't want anybody to tell me yardage
either. For Nikki, I have learned, at least through our relationship with the caddying, that I usually stand off the green. I stand away from her. I let her go through her routine of putting, and very rarely does she ask me if, what do you think of this or that or the other. And my concern is always feeding too much info when she stepped on that green. You want to be an integral part of it, not a distraction. And, the other part is, there's different things like that. The dynamics of a group, you're judging full and you're trying to be helpful.
Don't worry about
exactly.
it. Give the pat on the back and then calming down. The biggest dynamic of trouble, not professional caddies. That could be a great business. Amateur caddies, especially junior golf, the parent-kid relationship is brutal. And they're finding it more often that if the kids aren't need a caddy, probably shouldn't be dad or mom.
Yeah.
But that's kind of weird because you're traveling with your kid. You're going, if they're playing in tournaments, you're the team. But it's that dynamic because they can burst out more comfortably because they're with their parent.
Right.
If you're with someone you didn't know, you're going to act that the behaviors are different.
Right.
And it's a tough one. And college golf, they don't usually have caddies. High school golf, you don't have caddies.
Right.
But these little kids are stopping golf because it's not fun.
Yeah.
At least the studies
I've
are
seen
sure because of the PGA Junior League, no caddies. I believe there's no caddies. US Kids maybe, I'm not sure, but there's different companies, and we're finding out it's just tough. US Worlds or Junior Worlds are allowed caddies. PGA Juniors, no caddies.
Right.
And they're just little kids, so they're finding out they can watch, but they can't interact.
Yeah.
And there's studies.
They can support.
Studies are showing that little kids should, they let them learn, let them go on their own, and you don't usually get a caddy unless you're playing at a private club or you're visiting Pebble.
Right.
I had a caddy in St. Andrews, and it was cool. I never cared about the clubbing, but the history, what they knew.
See, that's cool.
That was fun. It was like going to a museum, and I'm getting,
cool.
This is where Bobby Jones did this thing, and so that was cool. And the stories, and this is,
When I played Cypress Point the one time, the caddy was telling us about all the stories for the different people because he had caddied there for 30 years.
And probably for everybody, who's anybody.
The history,
right?
And,
That's fun.
And I distinctly, and I think I've talked about it on the show before, one of the holes, it was a dogleg right, and it's like if you tried to cut it over to the green, you're going over dunes. And he goes, "That's the line Tiger took." And I said, "Well, that's not the line I'm taking." And he goes, "You sure?" I said, "I'm not taking that line." And I go, "I don't need to go out into that dune."
Yeah, I was in a bugger. Bobby Jones knocked down on the green from here. I'm like, "Well, dude,
I know, exactly.
I just want to get out of this thing."
Exactly.
Here. So
well, we need to take our last
then let's
break
just play
here.
games. See if anybody calls.
Phone number here, 805-595-3776. Phone number 805-595-3776. We come back. You guys call. We'll play some games. We got golf balls. I got TaylorMade hats. I got books.
Rounds of golf.
All sorts of rounds of golf at Black Lake, rounds of golf at Pass Robles Golf Club, 805-595-3776. You're listening to Golf Talk Radio with Mike and Billy right here on the Golf Talk Radio Network. And don't forget to check out healthiq.com. Use the promo code Golf Talk through our website, golftalkradio.com. We'll be right back.
Call now.